Well, we are thrilled to be part of the essential family of companies. And there's a lot that's new about it, and there are some things that aren't new about it. We've had something of a love relationship, if you would, with the Cannes Lions Creative Effectiveness Awards for a long time. They are widely regarded as probably one of the hardest marketing awards to win around the globe. And in that regard, have become something of the bellwether for best practice for the industry, which probably speaks to the reason why the Cannes Lions cases are the most downloaded cases that we have on WARC to this day, last year, the year before that. We asked the jury president, I think Fernando's here someplace, if he could comment on what was special about this category for Cannes. And he said that you can take back what you can get out of those awards and make your work better. So you can show what other people did and the results that it created, and it really helps both for inspiration in terms of selling in the ideas. And WARC completely agrees with that sentiment, and we hear it all the time from the clients that we have. And so it's a reason why we looked at all 169 entries that were submitted last year to try and figure out what were the communication themes, what was happening, what was the trend and the connection between creativity and effectiveness that drove the winners in the shortlisted and distinguishing them from other entrants in 2018. And that way, we hope that we're going to help you do exactly what Fernando was talking about. So the four themes. Theme number one is that the judges rewarded campaigns that were solution-oriented, and that many of those were driven by, I need to go back one. Can we go back one? There we go. That were driven by product-led initiatives. There was also, consistent with many years, a lot of use among the winners in emotion-driven storytelling with a little lighthearted humor along the way as well in those campaigns. And TV, because it's so good for storytelling, still remained, of course, the lead medium for those campaigns. Then, not so surprising, online conversion was a much bigger theme this year, or in 2018, than it has been in previous years, and that's probably a trend that we can expect will just continue going on as brands become more and more interested in dealing with e-commerce and driven to deal with e-commerce. And then the last theme that we identified among the 169 entries that we looked at was that there was a different kind of purpose-driven campaign that was evolving, not so focused on a tear-jerking video, but really driven by a truly original thought. And those original ideas tended to drive PR as well. So PR tended to be baked into those purpose campaigns, those brand purpose campaigns, more so than what we had seen in the past. So now, next slide, please. Let's talk a little bit more about the first theme, and solutions and not campaigns. It should really not be a surprise to us that campaigns that are talking about features and benefits, in fact, do drive sales. But, I think what was interesting for the judges was that the standout campaigns were driving not just the messaging of the campaigns, but the standout campaigns. This was the need to have solutions was going all the way back to product development. So it wasn't just of the problems, the solution, the need for change. The challenge was not just coming through in the campaign messaging, it was driving product development, and the solutions were product-led, not just campaign messaging-led. So that was kind of interesting. We talked to Johnny Bauer from Droga5 and asked him to comment a little bit about this trend. And he really thought that it demonstrated the need to think about creativity in a much larger context than what we have done so in the past. And he encouraged that agencies needed to think of themselves not so much as advertising agencies, but of agents of change through creativity. Next slide. So I want to take you into a video here of what was the Grand Prix winner. I hope you're at least aware of this campaign. It's really fantastic. It was done by O&M Mumbai for a product for Savlon, and it was really product driven because it was about a chalk that had soap infused in the chalk, so that you didn't have to remind kids to actually go to the bathroom, wash their hands, and use soap to act as a disinfectant to kill life-threatening bacteria and potential disease. They didn't have to worry about that. It was all taken care of with the chalk. So let's take a look.
Kids love to use their hands. Kids explore the world with their hands. In India, they use their hands for one more thing: eating. Not washing their hands with soap is one of the main causes for illnesses and dropouts.
साबुन वापरतात का? नहीं. कोई आदत नहीं होती, घर में भी माँ बाप उनको नहीं सिखाते, इसलिए सब बच्चे ये नहीं सीख सकते.
In rural schools of India, kids still use chalk and slate to write. So Savlon, one of India's leading hygiene brands, gave shape to a simple idea: chalk sticks infused with soap. Introducing Savlon Healthy Hands Chalk Sticks. These worked just like regular chalk sticks, but at lunch break they did more than just writing. The chalk powder turned into soap on its own. These chalk sticks have been introduced in schools across the country. Along with national news coverage on TV, this simple innovation got featured in over 70 newspapers. It generated a reach of 4.3 million on Twitter and 3.2 million on Facebook in just 4 days. This led to a huge demand for the chalk sticks from schools and NGOs. Its food-grade safety certification got us our biggest prize, Akshay Patra. The world's largest provider of school midday meals approached us to distribute these chalks to more than 1 million children every day. We are now working hand in hand with schools and NGOs to provide these chalk sticks for free. Kids' health will now be in good hands, their own.
Terrific campaign, right? Let's take a look now at the second theme, which really had to do with emotionally driven storytelling in the advertising, which is still the dominant creative strategy for the winners, for the shortlisted campaigns. And you can see that it even went up just a little bit. It's over a fifth of the campaign saying that emotion-driven storytelling was the primary creative strategy that they used. It's interesting, I guess, it's always storytelling we know works. What was interesting, in the commentary that we have in the analysis, that you'll all get a copy of, by the way, in that analysis, we talked to Graham Page from Kantar Miller Brown. And what he found amazing about this statistic was that not more brands were using storytelling, not that it was the prime creative strategy, but why wasn't it being used by more? And so they actually went back and analyzed all the campaigns from last year and found out that only 4 out of 10 were using any kind of device related to storytelling. And that's surprising, given that we know how well it works. So then humor, you can see there, also had a very big increase over last year. And the interesting thing about humor, we spoke to a neuroscientist. Her name's Dr. Cristina de Bolzano. And her science tells us that the value of humor is that it gives people a more rewarding brand experience, which kind of makes sense. And she says that, like storytelling, she can prove through brain waves that the entire brain is engaged in the analysis of humor. So because the entire brain is engaged in a different way and trying to understand the joke and what's humorous about it and connecting it to the brain, there's more engagement and there's more attention. And those, of course, are all things that our campaigns are aiming for, so it helps. But she also cautioned that if the humor is not tied to some truth inherent to the brand, then it's not going to work for you. So here's an example of a winner from this past year, from 2018, that was Cheetos, that I think really does this well. It kind of allows people to have fun with the brand, it engages them, and it stays very true to the way people actually were thinking about the product already. So let's take a look.
I'm Madison Papel, owner of the Cheetos Abe Lincoln. You can see the two eyes there. And then right there, a little speck, that's where the nose is.
There's a Cheetos Museum. I know there is.
There's the little her crown, and the torch, and the torch. In front here, that's where her book would be.
I have Cheetos that look like King Tut, Cheetos Dolphin, Cheetos Eiffel Tower.
This is my favorite story of the day. How would you like to make money eating Cheetos?
Did you hear that Cheetos is offering $60,000 to anybody who finds a Cheeto that looks like somebody famous?
Your wacky, weird-shaped Cheeto can now earn you up to 60 grand.
Cheetos is calling on people to upload their pictures of Cheetos that are accidentally shaped like something else. The winner will get $10,000.
It's a boot.
Yes.
It's a Cheeto boot.
A Cheetos Museum is giving away thousands of dollars. There is a Cheetos Museum.
This guy decided that his Cheeto looked exactly like Harambe.
A Cheeto Harambe?
Sold on eBay for nearly $100,000.
So good, right? That was from Goodby Silverstein. The third thing that we noticed about the campaigns is that you could really see in 2018 the effect of e-commerce on brands and on the campaigns that were entered and were winning last year. So there were far more campaigns that had the use of microsites and websites as being key to what they were doing. Online video was very much more dominant than for all entries. And that shouldn't be surprising because brands need to figure out how to make e-commerce work. So we saw that in the statistics. And similarly, we saw a jump in the number of campaigns who said that that was actually their lead medium as well. So we're seeing that successful campaigns, in fact, are addressing the need of brands to deal with the digital world and be effective in it. And you'll see later, you're going to see a deep dive into a campaign and a case study of somebody who did that really, really well when the New York Times takes us through their work that they did. So the last point that I wanted to talk a little bit about is the fourth theme, which was what was happening with purpose. And this is kind of interesting because, you know, when there's a crowded category and a brand needs to step out of that crowd, they need to look and act a little different from everybody else that's in the category. And brand purpose is a way to do that and to help brands. But here's an example of somebody who did that so well in using this very dramatic symbol to drive conversations about diversity in the boardroom in a way that was probably much more effective than any kind of rational discussion of that ever could have been. And in the analysis of work, we talk about why that might be, and the fact that there are probably few people, other than the ones in this room, who think about brands as closely in the real world. So we're consumed with brands, and we're consumed about what they can do and what their functionality is and what they stand for, but the rest of the world is not, unfortunately, quite as taken with brands in the same way. So we believe that the function of brands is not as engaging to consumers as the meaning of brands. And Brand Z, in the work that they've done, has shown that the meaning of brands increases, the purpose can increase the meaning of brands, and that meaningful differences between brands can increase brand value and brand growth. And that if you have a meaningfully original idea, certainly that means that you're not only going to be able to engage consumers, but you can engage the press as well. And that's, in fact, what was happening and working so well with a Fearless Girl and that campaign, where PR was, in fact, the lead medium in the campaign, and everything was designed around it. And with that, those are the four main themes. I hope you will take time to pick up the analysis. There's so much more in it than this brief kind of snapshot. But I hope you will take it and learn from it and be able to apply it in your world to do exactly what Fernanda was talking about and have better ideas because of the great work the Cannes Lions Creative Effectiveness Awards bring you.